Certain sectors of Connecticut's economy were on the rebound until the pandemic hit.
We've heard a lot about the challenges facing the hospitality industry, but for a broader look, we've invited Lisa Hammersley to join us. She's executive director of the School and State Finance Project.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You are a veteran budget shaper in Connecticut. What was the state of Connecticut's economy before March of this year?
Well, the state was actually looking pretty good. It had a sizable budget reserve fund. It had revenues that were growing at a pretty robust rate. In addition, when you looked at deficit projections for the upcoming fiscal years, 2022 and 2023, the size of the deficits were pretty small as compared to deficits that the state had faced prior to that time. And so the state was really looking good until the coronavirus hit back in March.
Can you define, we just had a national economist on talking about the nation. Can you define where Connecticut is now in terms of its economy and job losses?
Absolutely. So the Office of Fiscal Analysis, which is the legislator's budget office, and the Office of Policy Management, who works for the governor's office, get together a number of times during the year to do consensus revenue updates. And back in April, they did a consensus revenue update, which showed that revenues were going to plummet by over $1 billion. And so at the time, they were concerned that the economy would completely shut down. This recession is unlike anything that the state of Connecticut has ever faced before. There's a lot of uncertainty. And as a result, they're unable to make predictions like they have in the past when they look at previous recessions where, revenues start to taper down and then you have a slow growth. What happened in March was a complete shutdown. Since that time, projections for revenue collections have increased. We did end last fiscal year with a $40 million surplus. And every time the two agencies get together to make additional projections, they just continue to increase the amount of revenue that they're anticipating the state of Connecticut to receive. The impact to industries varies depending on each industry that you're looking at. So clothing stores have been significantly impacted, restaurants, but other areas that people are spending their money, sales tax, sporting goods, sales tax with regards to online shopping has all been pretty strong and robust during this period. So I do not envy the position that the revenue analysts at OFA and OPM have to be in to try and make these predictions. I think that you'll see in January, they'll make another prediction that revenues will continue to increase as well.
So we just recently saw that November's jobs figures for Connecticut were revised, and instead of gaining 6,400 jobs, we lost 1,600 jobs. What do you think that tells us about the job market going forward in Connecticut?
Well, the impact to job markets has varied depending on what type of job you hold and what industry you're in. So the job industry that has been impacted the most has been leisure and hospitality. This is also the area of Connecticut's employment that has the lowest wages. The industries that have the highest salaries in the state, including information and technology, financial activities, those are all doing quite well. So while the number of jobs might be lower and the number of Connecticut citizens that are employed might be reduced, comparatively, we're doing quite well. I think that because people were able to transition to a remote setting so seamlessly, it has helped to mitigate some of the financial impact to the state of Connecticut and to employment.
It sounds though like the inequality in the economy will be growing based on what you just said there. We could do a whole program on that. Can I ask you about the housing market? I hear
Sure.
the Connecticut's housing market is doing so well, but that depends on what area. Just any general thoughts there?
We did see that a number of individuals were moving out of New York City and New York State and coming into Connecticut. I do think that the housing market overall has been pretty strong. I've been keeping an eye on houses going on the market and selling, and they're selling at record rates. I think that people, are investing in their homes and are making improvements considering that nobody's able to go out and to really do much. But I do think that you'll see that the strongest increase in terms of home sales will be down in Fairfield County, just due to the proximity to New York City.
With the pandemic, let a lot of people know, and they realize that they don't necessarily have to go to an office anymore. And there's talk of large companies leaving the New York metropolitan area. What effect does losing big individual taxpayers have on Connecticut's budget?
Significant. And we've seen that over the past number of years, that when you have particularly the extreme wealthy, the amount of personal income taxes that they pay to the state of Connecticut is significant. And so when you lose just, 50 of these individuals, for example, the state of Connecticut is going to feel the impact for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Hammersley. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. When Face the State returns, there are pending issues that affect everyone in Connecticut for the state legislature to consider when it convenes in January.
But how do they convene during a pandemic? We'll talk to Speaker Matt Ritter and Senate Republican leader Kevin Kelly when we come back.